lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete. He's crazy.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
The Brickyard is an iconic racetrack and the Lotus 49 is an iconic race car. It's a match made in heaven, but instead of running the traditional oval today, the Lotus 49 folks have elected to try out the road course here at Indy. Tricky and demanding in its own right, there's sure to be a few who fall afoul of this track's fickle side. You're watching round 9 of the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, most of our fans are probably familiar with the Indianapolis Oval, but what's the road course got in store for everyone?
Well, Joe, what it's got in store is over this 20 laps, they will cover 2.6 miles around this track each circuit. 13 turns. Now, this modern infield road course was completed back in 2000, incorporating part of the oval, including the main stretch and the southeast turn, measuring just about 2.6 miles there. In 2008 and again in 2014, the road course has been modified to accommodate motorcycle racing and other forms of racing. But altogether, the current grounds have expanded from its original 320 acres, on which the speedway was first built on, to cover an area now of about 560 acres. This legendary speedway is on the National Register of Historic Places, and its designation as a National Historic Landmark makes it the only such site to be affiliated with automotive racing history, Joe. But the best way to take a look at this track is on board the GSRC Lotus 49 for a lap around Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
All right, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Indianapolis. The run down to turn 1 is far and above your best chance at a pass during the lap, but with the high speeds, you've got to brake way earlier than you're used to in any other car. The opening chicane invites you to hit the first half a little quicker, but watch out for wheel spin if you get on top of the curb in the second half. Turn 3 requires some throttle modulation, and then you'll swing it out wide for the best entry into turn 4. This is a surprisingly slow bend, and it's easy to overestimate how much speed you can take into it. From there, it's almost one single arc into turn 5 where you're still playing with the throttle. But you've got to make sure to swing the car off the right and then slow it up for the patience-trying turn 6. This is absolutely best with a late apex because, as you can see, 7 comes up right away, and you really want to open up this sharp right-hander as much as possible for a good launch onto the backstretch. The light gray pavement to the left is not considered inbound, so stay to the right of the white line. Turn 8 is probably the only other good place for an overtake, but this set of S's get progressively tighter and slower up until turn 10. Getting out of rhythm here can throw away a lot of lap time, but thankfully it's annoyingly hard for anyone to get by you. From there, make sure to cut far inside on 11 where the access road is paved at the apex. This brings us back to the oval portion of the circuit. In most cars, you'd be flat out through here all the way until turn 1, but in the 49, you're feathering the throttle in both 12 and 13. Ideally, you'll be aiming the car to feed smoothly onto the power as early as you can. Just be careful not to clout the outside wall on the exit. Hopefully, you've kept it together and have now finished a lap around Indianapolis. And that's a lap here around Indianapolis's road course. Now, we have a championship to cover here in the Lotus 49 series, so let's take a look at the driver's points up first. Up at the top, they should have a tie, as I'm waiting for the points to come up on my screen. There we go. Yes, as you can see, Michel Dugnan and Benjamin Zocco up there tied for first as Michel and Benjamin have been swapping back and forth. Billy Bob Wright on a great run, but he is in a tight battle for that third spot. Mick Claridge right behind him. And of course, Jack Woolstead not that far behind down in 5th. As we go over to the Constructors' Championship, now they score this like they did back in 67. Instead of by constructor, it's by country. Australia and the United States currently tied as well for first. And then France doing very well down in third with Dudignan, bringing them steadily up the order. United Kingdom And the Netherlands trailing a little bit farther behind. Not sure that they're likely to come back unless Mick Claridge is able to bring the UK back into things. Now, Sean, we talk about this every week, but in case we have some new viewers, why don't you tell some of them a little bit about what the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge is about?
Well, it's all about Rick Emerson, a friend of the organizers of this series, who's been battling his own case of ALS for over 4 years now, commonly referred to as Lou Gehrig's disease. Well, the promoters of the series want to help and try and raise money for ALS awareness and to help find a cure. And in effort with the ALS Association, we put a link in our YouTube description. You can donate to them and help support this tremendous cause. Rick is still battling. Was watching last week. Hopefully he's here watching again. But we're always racing for Rick here on Saturdays and always holding out a good thought for Rick and his battle against ALS, Joe.
So we have been watching Zoko and now Dudagnan put in their qualifying laps. They get 2 laps to put a qualifying time in. I've already seen at least one driver clatter the wall on one of their laps. I didn't catch who it was, though, before we had to step away for the points championship. And here Michel is on his second lap, I believe. Yes, he is. Coming down the backstretch. Right now he's sitting in second. Billy Bob Wright is leading the way. Up in first with a 1:24.4.
Well, I can tell you Billy Bob wasn't working on qualifying in practice because that's the best lap I've seen him turn yet so far this morning. And the second lap doesn't work out to be any better, actually. His first one was going to be the best, but does currently sit and hold that pole position, Jeff.
Michel Dudagnan comes around this final corner, turn 1 in reverse. Can he improve as he comes across the line? 1:24.520. And he does not. He's down by about a tenth. Ove Trangerade currently in third, and he is on his second lap. Can he do something up towards the top? He's coming back onto the oval portion, Sean.
Yeah, let's see what Ove's got here this last stretch. So tough right here, Joe. The car wants to just really get all the way up to that wall, and boy, coming out of turn 13 is where you got to be very careful, because as he gets through here, again, the car wants to come all the way up. Really easy to smack that thing if you're not careful.
And he does improve. I thought maybe he even touched the wall out of there, but it's not enough to improve his position. A 1:24.6 really tightens it up to within 0.2 between the top 3 cars. Just about 2 minutes left on our qualifying. We have a couple cars still finishing their second lap. Actually, I take that back. Jack Ulstead is the only one who has not completed his second lap, and he is sitting stationary in the pits. So our field has been solidified. Let's go through the grid. Billy Bob Wright is going to be on the pole with Michel Dudagnan starting in second. Ove Trangerade will be in third. On the outside of row 2, we'll see Michael Langford there in that 4th position. And then rounding out the top 5, we have Jack Ulstead. Outside of row 3, Sean, is going to be Mick Claridge.
All right, row 4, Benjamin Zoko and AJ Bear. Back in row 5, it's going to be Brett Reale and Casper DeCourt. And then your last 2 drivers in the field today, row 6, going to be Hideki Quavitso and Dimitro Gankarov. Joe, 12 cars here today at Indy.
A little bit of a low turnout for this series, but enough to make it official. We expect some good racing, especially with a little bit of draft at that front stretch. Although, Sean, it seems like passing is going to be a bit difficult here today.
Boy, the only really 2 good opportunities I see are actually at the end of the straights. There's only 2 of them. Of course, the very, very long front straight down into turn 1. And then on the back side of the course, you have the short straight there between 7 and 8. You might want to take a shot into 8, but you and I were talking about it, Joe. So tough there because you've got to get immediately back to the right after you make that left-hander there. You better get it right, and you better be brave. If you don't get it right, it's going to be a mess for everybody around you and yourself.
Certainly don't doubt that. Now, championship is going to look interesting if things don't change much from qualifying, because Benjamin Zoko down in 7th with Michel Dudagnan, his championship rival that he's tied up at the top all the way up on the front row.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise that Zelko qualified so poorly. He was fastest in practice all morning, Joe. So I'm a little surprised by that pace. Now, Dudignon wasn't in any of those practice sessions, so his pace looks to be pretty good here so far, at least in qualifying. But I look for Zelko to maybe try and improve that position, quite a bit actually. But we'll see how they get started here, because the mad scramble to turn 1 is going to be a lot of fun here with the cold tires on this Lotus 49.
It is going to be a long run to that first corner, and these cars have a very long braking zone as well, so I wonder if we could see some problems into that first corner as the cars start to get gridded out, and what looks like, is this the sunrise setting, the morning setting that we're seeing here?
Joe, it's partly cloudy, 74 degrees and 83 degrees on track. Boy.
Not sure if we have a way to tell that, actually. Not sure if this is sunrise or sunset.
I cannot tell.
Actually, if I'm trying to think about which is the north end of the track, I believe this is sunrise. I'm pretty sure this is sunrise. Anyway, lights are up. So, as Billy Bob Wright is going to lead them down into the first corner, hopefully if he gets off the line, engines rev and the green flag is out. Good start for most of them up at the front. Third place, Ove Tranqueray. Horrible off the line. We're already seeing some 3 wide, as it looks like that is Jack Olstad who sneaks through.
Oh.
This could not be good if they don't get this sorted out. Amazingly managed to hold the 3 wide through the first corner. Now it switches to 2 wide, but Olstad moves himself all the way up into third from 5th off the line.
Yeah, Tranqueray was the one that decides to back out of that. Oh, and we got a car spinning back there in turn 4.
That's Brett Rial who lost it, and Hideki Koivisto who plows into him coming through 4. We're going to show the replay. It's tough to get into that fourth corner there, Sean, with the braking.
Yeah, and Brett's going to try and get going again. They're still kind of coming across the track, and boy, Hideki had nowhere to go. Really causes heavy damage on the front of his Lotus.
Could upset the car in the high-speed front stretch, but Billy Bob Wright had a threat from Dudignon down into one of the last corners before it leads on to the main course, but he wasn't able to sneak by. That was turn 10. Now as they come through the reverse of turn 1 on the oval onto the front stretch, let's see what this draft can do. Looks like Dudignon starting to gain. Coming down to turn 1, Billy Bob Wright just far enough away, but I think that draft is going to be very much a factor here today, Sean.
Yeah, if they can keep them close, it will be significant. You're watching Dudignon just really pester Billy Bob right here in the early, just now on the second lap. But the draft made a big factor there for Dudignon. And in fact, Dudignon pulls off this pass out of turn 4, Joe.
Oh, it's not quite there yet. Got unsettled a little bit by the curb in through 4. Excuse me, 5, and now it's going to switch back into 7. Still can't quite get inside him, but Billy Bob goes wide, tries to bring the car back on, and takes the pace of action, losing control. Olstad into the wall.
Jack could not gather it up, Joe. Oh, and he goes in the wall. Ove Tranqueray's on board here, Joe.
Yeah, almost caught it about 5 or 6 times here. Just has to get out of it, trying to get out of Billy Bob's way. Oh, yeah, close stuff, but unfortunate for Jack after that phenomenal start.
He almost saved it too, Joe. I mean, he really did.
Well, and all that has switched the lead around, but Billy Bob Wright is right on top of Dudignon, and he's trying hard to get onto that front stretch, has to lift just a little bit and loses some speed. That's going to deny him the opportunity down into turn 1. But the hot spot for pass is very clearly going to be this first corner, breaking hard into the chicane.
And Langford actually got through that first turn really, really well. He gained a lot of ground on Billy Bob right there in the straightaway, and then that turn, still gaining ground here out of turn 4.
Who seems to like these technical sections. That red machine of Michael Langford. Oh, a little bit wide through 6. Maybe he can cut back in and get a run here. Doesn't lose any time, doesn't gain any time. The car's going very wide on the exit of 7. Now, maybe the iRacing has changed it. The last I understood, there was a slowdown penalty for going wide out there, but it looks like maybe they've just stayed right within the bounds. I thought it used to be a little bit more strict than that.
I think they relaxed it just a little bit, not by much, Joe, but you can take a little bit wide there, not much. Certainly not past the DRS sign.
So, Billy Bob not as close this time around. Langford was starting to close up coming into 11. Excuse me, that may have been 12 actually. Meanwhile, Langford actually under threat as Mick Claridge has got to run. Haven't seen a whole lot of him, usually right up at the front as he tries to take a peek on the inside into 1. Can't quite get his nose in. He's going to have to stay in line in 4th for now. Car way wide coming through 1. That is Ove Trangarade with AJ Bear now over the top of him.
Ove struggling just a bit, Joe. He's down 3 spots. Hasn't recovered well. His tires are angry at him, and look at that. He goes off. That's going to allow AJ to get by. Here comes Casper de Court.
Ove's not giving it up, though. It switches back to the inside of 6. Taking the long way around. Casper de Court AJ can't quite get it done, but we're seeing the exact same thing that we saw before with Billy Bob right. Ove Trangrade wide at turn 7, gives it up to AJ Bear, tries to fend off the car of Casper de Court, and he's going to be able to hold on to that 7th position for now. Look at as we ride on board with de Court, hands sawing at the wheel through this S's section. Meanwhile, up for 2nd, Langford has closed up to Billy Bob Wright once again. Could we see a potential pass here?
Got to get close enough to him here. I just think he's a little bit too far out. Got to be a little closer when you get to the exit of the turn. He's going to draft up to him, but not enough to get inside them. Watch out here. Here comes Claridge.
Whoa! From way far back, Mick Claridge tries to keep out of Langford. Compromises himself a little bit, swings it around the outside of 2 successfully.
Wow.
Oh, but he's very loose going into 4. Somehow holds onto it. Langford tries to keep from getting into that gearbox, holds all of them up, and backs him up into Benjamin Zocco in 5th.
Mick really defying the limits of this car, making it look more like a drift machine. And great job by Langford to just, withstand that charge there into turn 1.
Some wild rides in the first half of this lap and the upper mid pack, but everybody coming out of it clean. No contact between the cars. A little bit of side-by-side action between de Court and Ove Trangrade, trying to hold him off through the S's. Difficult to get a pass into 8, and we see just how hard it is as de Court is held off.
Yeah, I talked about Trangrade and the struggle he's had here to get this race started. Maybe has found a bit of a rhythm now, but boy, he's 2 seconds behind AJ Bear. He's got to get busy. Almost 7 seconds from our leader, Michael Dugnan.
After a good start for Langford, getting himself up the order, he's been slipping back. He's in 4th, and already Benjamin Zocco has been threatening. Still early in this race, only a quarter of the way through. We're seeing plenty of action up towards the front. Unfortunately, Dugnan is stretched at about a second away from Billy Bob Wright, so just outside of threat right now.
You mentioned Zocco. We talked about that. His qualifying, not so good. He's picked up a couple of spots. He's continuing to charge. Like I said, this morning in practice, he put in a lot of laps. Had great pace here. I expect him to be fighting Langford here pretty quickly, and then he's a factor for the podium.
Oh, Langford's off in the S's. Way offline. And we're seeing a pass up in front of him as well.
Yeah,
as
there
Mick
goes
Claridge
Claridge.
Gets by Billy Bob Wright. I did not expect us to see passes in that part of the track.
we're going to look at the replay, and honestly, I'm wondering if that was a little bit more of a mistake. Oh, geez.
Did he get
Billy
clipped, maybe?
Yeah, Billy Bob had a little bit of a bad exit there out of the chicane, and Claridge looked and maybe got a piece of him there.
Well, that moves Mick Claridge up from a qualifying in at 6th to now 2nd place, and he's up to his old rival once again, Michel Tudignan, up over the nose. Seeing these cars really get squirrely in some portions of this track. I don't know about you, Sean, but I found that the technical sections of this circuit in this car are so tough to maximize.
Boy, I sure had trouble maximizing him. And, you know, I'm not, my prowess is not as a driver. But it is very, very tough. These technical sections, quite frankly, I find them as about as tough as any other road course I go to. And hey, quick shout out to Andrew Ng. He's out there saying hello from 350 miles away from his home, not able to race today, but watching.
Glad to have Andrew tuning in to check to see how his competitors are doing on his day off. We ride on board with Zoko in 4th on the back of Billy Bob Wright. Not quite close enough right now, but as we've seen, a good launch off of this final corner is critical. He gets a decent one, but Billy Bob does as well, so they're going to stay dead even down the straight.
Yeah, turn 13 gets better once you get some heat in the tires, but it's tricky every lap around. Zoko continues his charge here, though. It's just a little bit quicker than Billy Bob on that last lap. He is closing.
It's incredible. I'm not sure how many other cars on the iRacing service you actually have to lift coming through that turn 13 on the Indy road course. Most of them, I would assume, are just flat out.
Yeah, pretty stuck. Let's face it, downforce and grip, not one of the strong suits here of the Lotus 49, but that's all right. We like it that way. Loose is fast, baby.
And it actually provides some relatively close racing, as we've seen. Most cars in these technical sections with trouble following closely, not these cars who here in this portion of the course, we've seen multiple passes today, something I don't think I've ever seen in other cars.
No, Dugnan not running away with anything here. His pace is awesome, but Mick Claridge is, boy, he's on his way pretty quick here. Joe, I almost called you Soup. Sorry, buddy.
I would not take that as an insult. Soup is a great lead commentator, and you're right. At about 1.2, he's gaining just a little bit, so we could have a great fight on our hands for this lead behind them. Things are staying close for 3rd place as well, as Billy Bob Wright leads a train of Zoko and Langford.
Langford back here being very cautious, Joe. He knows he's still got a long ways to go to get this race done. He sees this fight up in front of him here between Billy Bob Wright and Benjamin Zoko developing. I think he just wants to stay out of it and let the race come to him right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, this Kiwi, I think, is just kind of holding back, letting these two get close to one another, seeing if a battle might erupt and he could sneak a pass on both. But unfortunately, though Zoko closed through the first half of the course, coming down to turn 8, was not close enough to attempt to pass on the Floridian of Billy Bob Wright. They're going to stay single file through the S's. For those watching who are wondering why the track looks like this is the version that they had, I believe, from about 07 to, I want to say, until 2012, when they updated the track once again for IndyCar. Changed the S's a little bit, took out the fiddly turn 5 and 6 and changed it into a fast chicane. Hopefully someday iRacing can get that new version on here. It certainly has proved a little bit more popular than this one.
Yeah, boy, Joe. Billy Bob really doing a good job of hanging on. Oh, and you know what? Zoko went to make a move on him, and then the front tire slid on him just a bit. Lost a little bit of ground, not much, though. They're still fighting, and Langford got himself a little bit closer, maybe coming up to take a peek here at what's going on.
I find it fascinating through that 5-6 combo, the different lines we're seeing with some of these drivers, because some are entering really shallow and others are just sitting in way deep and cutting back in. It's kind of neat to see the different approaches they all come to.
Yeah, agreed. Everybody has a little bit different idea how they want to skin this cat today. Zoko's still back here digging. Nothing doing. Billy Bob Wright gets out of turn 12 clean. Got to keep it off the wall here. Good job. Billy Bob struggled a little bit here getting out of 13. I've seen him get really close to the wall several times. That time, not quite as bad. Seems to have a better handle on it, but here comes Benjamin Zoko. He's definitely pulling him now.
He's been getting close. He's been taking looks, trying to get in the head of Billy Bob, but can't really do anything with it. His offline isn't hurting him too much, although now not just Langford is coming up to this train. AJ Bear has caught them, and Ove Trangerade isn't too far behind in that 7th position. And in all this, we've only had one DNF. Or actually, no, we haven't. Thought Brett Rial had retired, but he's still out there running. So all 12 cars that started are still going. Unfortunately, though, Brett is 7 laps down, so he must have taken some repairs.
Yeah, he had about 12 and a half minutes of repair, and but good on him getting back in this race. Going to finish the race, Joe.
Possibly going to get our unofficial Dory Award of the day. Meanwhile, just let's pop back in on 8th place, because Olsted's been holding off Casper to court. This is a bit of a close fight. If something erupts back in that battle for 3rd, we'll go back to it. But right now, let's give some screen time to what is a great little battle here at the back of the pack.
Yeah, these two right now battling each other and the track. Jack was up there battling early up front, but since slid back after making a mistake. DeCourt going to try and reel him in a little bit here down the front straight. Joe up front, though. Dudignon, Claridge, that battle gets a little bit closer.
And I've been watching it, and Mick Claridge seems to have some connection problems on my end. I'm not sure if that's with everybody else as well. Oh, he's very loose coming into turn 6. Almost diamonding it off, coming in shallow, and then letting it drift wide, coming back in. Again, everybody just taking their own kind of take on this. They hit the backstretch. Claridge down to 7/10 on Dudignon with 9 laps to go.
I actually have seen him blink a couple times, Joe. Hopefully that connection can hang on through the end of this race. He's given Dudignon a really good fight up there. But these 5 cars back here are having a blast. Billy Bob Wright, Zoko, Langford, AJ Bear, and Ove Trangerade. They are hooked up, line astern, all within a mere second of each other.
Trangerade really on top of AJ Bear as well. He's got it down to 2/10. If he can get the exit off of 13, this is going to help him. He's nice and tight into the apex. Question is, can he get the launch off the corner? I think maybe there was a slight lift as he got close to the wall, and it doesn't look like he's going to have a chance down into turn 1 as everybody accordions together one more time. Billy Bob Wright still the cork in the bottle of this train. Oh, he's a little bit wide at 4. Zoko very much under threat from Langford. Langford takes a look into the inside, starts to lose the car, drifts it around turn 6, somehow holds it together, but can't get around Benjamin Zoko, who holds on to the spot. And everybody behind them keeps it safe as well. AJ Bear fending off Ove Trangerade. Great job by Langford to keep that together.
The Fast and the Furious 25, starring Michael Langford, Indy Drift.
As they return to the oval section of the course, nothing has changed. It's still Wright in 3rd, Zoko 4th, Langford 5th, Bear 6th, and Trangerade 7th. How long is it going to stay like that, though? Claridge has cut down another 2/10 on Dudignon. No pass attempt yet there. Now it's down to 4/10, 3/10.
Yeah, I don't think Mick's going to get too many opportunities to make a move on Dudignon. He may get one, and he may have to save that. He may have to keep that in his pocket until we have one to go, Joe.
Oh, and Langford loses 2 positions. Trangarade and AJ Bear get by him, and Trangarade is looking at gaining 2 positions as he sneaks into the inside of 4. Here comes Langford back at Bear, wanting to get that spot back. Manages to sneak inside. Boy, he's taking a lot of curb over at turn 5. This time the entry to 6 looking a lot better for Langford. So he minimizes the damage down to 1 position lost.
Just can't help but to think that Langford's tires are hurting just a little bit right now, Joe, and that's really hurting his ability to attack. And it's allowing Ove Trangarade to get ahead. Now he's focused on that battle right in front of him, Zoko and Billy Bob.
We might want to go to the lead, though, because Claridge is now 3/10 back. They're coming into that final corner. We've seen the draft come into play before. Claridge just a little high coming through the banking. Maybe that had hurt his speed. Wasn't all the way tucked in down to the apex. He takes a look anyways. Under braking. Now putting the pressure onto the Frenchman.
Okay, battle for third. Zoko on the inside in a 1, and he's oh, look at that. Gets by Billy Bob Wright, who struggled there in a 1.
Great out-braking maneuver for the Australian. Finally gets it done, and Wright looks to be struggling to keep the car together now as Ove Trangarade is onto the back of them. Trangarade swinging it from a wide angle down into turn 6, trying to get himself the run into 7. We're seeing it once again with Wright going wide, and the grip off the corner, I thought at first goes to Trangarade, but the momentum goes to Wright. He's going to have the inside down into turn 8. Trangarade's going to try and threaten around the outside. It's going to swing back as they come into the S's, but he doesn't take the apex. And look at them get all close together.
Langford, AJ Bear.
It's
Billy
getting
Bob
tight back here.
Billy Bob gets it going again, though, and gets a really nice exit here.
This is allowing Zoko to really streak away and solidly hold on to this 3rd position. You can see as we ride on board with Langford, that speck up at the distance already is Benjamin.
Yeah, and you know what? Up front, McClaridge lost a little bit to Dudignon on that last lap. Not quite as perfect as he needed to be.
Oh, I think Langford may get a cut course. He was way far to the inside of turn 1 trying to make a pass attempt on Ove Trangarade. He hasn't slowed down yet, but he's not really in a good section to give it back. Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
So Langford with a mistake down into 1. Costly slips him down into 7th.
Boy, Joe. I'm sorry, Joe. Claridge was really, really wide out of turn 7, and he lost even more time. Dudignon now almost 2.5 seconds ahead.
I wonder if Claridge, yeah, that looks like maybe a slowdown penalty. He had to give it up. Yeah, he slowed down very early coming down the backstretch, and that cost him, as you said, about 1.5 seconds.
Boy, now we're in a spot where he's running out of time. Only 4 laps to go, Joe.
Things have separated in our pack of cars racing for the podiums. Zoko is stretched out about 1 second over Billy Bob Wright, who is still fending off Ove Trangarade, who's backed up to about 0.5 second. That's the closest battle on track at the moment for that 4th position. As the car behind them goes a little bit wide, AJ Bear coming in hot to turn 1. That's going to cost him some time.
Yeah, don't lose your group here, but he is at risk of doing that now. Bear continues to look to drop here. Ove Trangarade just up in front of him, Billy Bob Wright and Benjamin Zoko still hanging on to that final podium position.
Both cars looking nice and tidy through turn 7, finding the grip, and Billy Bob Wright still holding off Ove Trangrade, and in fact now closing up on Zoko once again, finding the speed. Certainly has not been the race that Wright was hoping for. Qualified on pole, is down in 4th, and is that a move for position? Trangrade took a peek down into 10, but couldn't get past Wright.
Boy, for as technical as this track is, you kind of forget how quickly they actually are getting around here, Joe. This race, almost over. 3 laps to go. Where has it gone? And you see everybody coming down the straightaway now trying to break each other's draft.
They know the game. They know that's the best place to try and make that move, though they've gotten creative around this circuit and had some great opportunities. He's right up on that gearbox.
Here comes Ove Trangrade.
Oh, and that's Zoko going very wide through turn 4. That's going to give up a bunch of room back to Billy Bob Wright, who reels him in.
Things all of a sudden just got uncomfortable for Benjamin Zoko.
Thought maybe he had that podium wrapped up, but it looks like that might not be the case now as they enter onto the backstretch, breaking down for turn 8. Ooh, Ove getting oh so close.
Yeah.
I'm starting to notice what they're doing through there to offer that passing opportunity. It seems like instead of swinging back wide from 9, they just stay in tight coming into turn 10. Fortunately, compromises your entry into 10. And nobody's able to really carry the speed through there, which is oh so important as you start to return to the oval. 2 laps to go now, and Claridge is not closed down. It's stuck at 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, that slowdown penalty really crippled him, Joe. I keep thinking back to that. He had a really good run going on Dugnan, but Dugnan's fast, period. And even though Claridge set the fastest lap of the race, he was the fastest car on track the last time around, it's still not enough to tackle what Dugnan's doing up there.
I think now that Dugnan has broken the draft, he's responded, really put the afterburners on to try and keep him at bay. Meanwhile, Zoko as well turns the wick up and pulls away from Billy Bob Wright, who has Ove Trangrade within 2 car lengths now as they break for 8. He can't make an attempt, but we've seen Trangrade try to sneak in a couple times here. Is he going to try that little move into 10 once again? He's looking again. No, he swings back out.
Well, there's one more position there for him if he wants to go get it. Billy Bob doing just enough to keep Ove Trangrade at bay. They're going to come out of turn 13, and we're going to have 1 lap to go across the yard of bricks.
White flag is out. And I tell you what, Sean, you mentioned that Zoko, you thought that he would climb forward in the race. Right now, I think he's our best mover, going from 7th to 3rd, it looks like.
Yeah, well, actually tied with Claridge, because Claridge went from 6th up to 2nd, where he sits right now.
Both drivers obviously started out of position, made their way forward. We're riding on board with Wright. What's still the closest battle. We'll jump over to our leader when he comes to the line, as Wright goes defensive down into 6, not wanting to give any opportunity for Ove. Now they hit 7. And they've got AJ Bear back on top of them once again. Last chance for a pass here, at least a good outbraking maneuver. And Ove is a little bit too far back.
Boy, just not enough there. Not enough there. Ove still putting the pressure on, though, out of the chicane.
That's his favorite spot, but he doesn't do it. Meanwhile, let's go to Michel Dudignan, the Frenchman. Looks like he's going to get another win. Oh, he's drifting through turn 13. I'm not sure if that was intentional. but he manages to hold on to the lead, comes across the line, and wins here at Indianapolis.
Claridge with a big Sorry,
yeah,
Joe.
great job. No, it's okay. With a great podium along with Benjamin Zocco. Wright fended off Tranquerade and Bear in 6th. And incredibly, everybody stayed on the lead lap except for Brett Rial, who unfortunately had damage. So as everybody gives us a quick finish, we're going to go to break. We'll come back with the official results, I should say, as well as driver interviews. And on screen, we're going to have all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we just watched round 9 of the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge. In the end, it was Dudignon who went from 2nd to 1st after he capitalized on mistakes from those around him. And it was Mick Claridge who chased him home, but And he got a slowdown penalty, and that cost him what could have been a chance to try and make an attack on the Frenchman. Benjamin Zocco, well, he didn't qualify well, but he made up for it because in the end, the points only come after the checkered flag, and he finished on the podium today. Billy Bob Wright manages fourth, not the race that he wanted, having taken the pole here today. Ove Trangarade rounds out our top five. Sean?
All right, and sixth place today, going to go to AJ Bear. Michael Langford, who had a really, really good start to this race, found a little bit of trouble, will finish seventh today. Jack Olstead, same thing. Jack was up there battling early with Dudignon, and he'll finish eighth. Casper DeCourt going to finish ninth today. Hideki Koivitso 10th. Dmitry Gankarov 11th. Brett Reale, after some early damage, gets through a 12.5-minute pit and finishes 12th.
And with that, we have second place Mick Claridge ready to talk to us about how his race went. And Mick, I guess the first question for you is what happened in qualifying, and how did you wind up in sixth?
Oh, hi guys. Qualifying, I just messed my lap up. Myself and Michelle, we ran 20 gallons, and it was just a bad lap. And that was it, basically. I dropped the fuel a bit down a bit for the race because I was so far down the field.
Now, later on in the race, once you had worked your way up into second, you closed in on Michelle, looked like maybe you'd get to attack, and then suddenly you went wide and it looked like you had a slowdown penalty. What prevented you from regaining that ground at the end?
I actually hit the wall in the oval on the second turn of the oval. I just tapped the wall there, and it wasn't too much damage, but there was a bit of damage. And then that was the lap before the slowdown. And as you know well, mate, it takes you a while to learn the car again after you get a bit of damage like that, even if it's slight.
Oof, we didn't catch that on camera. I'm sure you aren't too disappointed about that, but glad that we found out what caused that. We were a bit sad to see that you weren't able to try and regroup and give us some action up for the lead. Still, a second place is a nice finish. What do you think about the Indy Road Course? I believe this is the first time this series has gone to this track, hasn't it? At least this layout.
Yeah, it's the first time we've gone to the layout. Yeah, I like it. It's really tough on, trying to get the power down. You really have to hold back. And I've tried all sorts of things we've set up this week just to try and be ahead, and nothing seems to work. Halfway through the race, the car just understeers off the track on the oval, and it does feel pretty terrible here, but it's good. It's a nice track, there's low grip, so that causes the power issues. But no, it's a good track. I like it.
Yeah, I was surprised at how fun it was to race around here in this car. Usually it gets a lot of complaints from drivers and other machinery, but proved to be at least enjoyable for me in my reconnaissance laps. Thanks for coming and talk to us. And again, congratulations on the second.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Joe. See you next week.
As Mick Claridge here today, finishing on the podium. Up next, Sean is going to talk to our Australian friend Ben Zocco, who took third today.
Ben, what a run today. When qualifying had finished and I saw you down the board there, I said, I saw Ben practice this morning a little bit. I don't think he's that slow. Great effort and a great podium finish, man. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
What happened there in quali that kept you down the grid?
I just take it too easy in quali. I don't qualify well, so I was a little bit shocked to see that, because in practice I was up there, but for some reason in qualifying I never do too good. But that's all right. It's the race that matters, and that's where I seem to do well. My usual sort of standard is I can qualify at my race pace pretty much. So if you look at my qualifying time, that's probably a good indication of how I'm going to race. And I guess most people are a bit faster than in quali. And if you're judging by Billy Bob, qualified on pole, but then I think he struggled a bit during the race, which was made it good fun for me.
Yeah, and it was good fun. You guys were doing a lot of battling there. Billy Bob and Ove, AJ, Michael Langford was in there mixing it up with you guys. Jack Olstad, It was a pretty exciting 20 laps, to be really honest. Joe said it, though, at the end of the race. That, they don't pay the points until the checkered flag falls, and that winds up being a really great effort for you today here at Indy. What did you think of this layout, seeing as this was the first time we've run here?
Sort of on paper, I don't really like it, but and as I did the first race during the week, I wasn't happy at all because I was getting really bad understeer onto the oval and losing heaps of time, and so I wasn't liking it. But as I changed the setup and have to thank Mick, usually when I do well in one of these races, it's because I've picked up one of Mick's setups, and that made me faster, and then that sort of made the track come alive. And by the end of the week now, I actually really enjoyed this track, this layout. I don't know why. There's just a few corners on there that are a lot of fun, and especially in this car, it's a real challenge and it's good fun. So I'd be happy to race here again.
Well, good news then. All right. Well, we're happy to hear that, Ben. I know it's creeping into the wee hours of the morning for you there, Sunday morning there. You going to do any more racing, or are you done for the day?
Oh, no, I'm done. I'm spent.
Well, go get you some rest, my friend. Great effort today. A lot of fun watching you get around here, and congratulations again on your third place finish.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Mick and Michael for having a little battle there and sort of slowed them up, and that allowed me to catch up. And it's really good to see Michael Langford up there competing with us now. He's improved a lot since he's only pretty new to the car, and he's doing the same thing as me, living here in Sydney. To make these races, it's a bit tricky, getting up early and staying up late and all that kind of thing. And it's really good to see him to be racing with him. And I could see that it was a nice clean battle there with the three of us, and Billy Bob as well. It's a good race.
Yeah, it really was. It was a lot of fun watching you guys all battled out. Again, congratulations and thanks a lot for spending some time with us, Ben. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
And cheers to Ben Zocco. Joe, both drivers talked about this being a pretty exhilarating, pretty fun race for those boys down in New Zealand and Australia. Obviously, it's now into the wee hours of the morning. Hat off to them every week. They show up, man. That's tough. We say that getting up early and doing these races, it can be challenging. I don't know. I like catching it early. I'm not as good at the very end of the day as I am at the beginning of the day. You know what I mean?
I think we're opposites then. I am much better at the end of the day than I am at the beginning. But I managed to wake up, and certainly the excitement of these races wake me up. But we've got to close out for today, and 3 more for you and I to do, though. Of course, once again, thank you for watching the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge. If you want to help donate to the charity that this is all about, we have the link in the description to the ALS Foundation. And of course, thanks to Jack Ulstead and Ben Zocco for helping organize and bring this to air. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Case Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Next week, going to be a lot tougher course. They are going to Bathurst once again. That'll be Saturday, August 19th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. It is always exciting racing there, very challenging. Produces some good and interesting results. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.